Okay, I want you to close your eyes for a second. Picture the movie Shrek. What do you see?
I'm seeing a big green ogre, a donkey that won't shut up, maybe a dragon. I can definitely hear Smash Mouth playing in the background.
Right. It's a meme. It's this, beloved childhood movie. It's what you put on for 90 minutes when you just want to turn your brain off.
It's the ultimate comfort film, yeah.
Exactly. But what if I told you that you're not looking at a comfort film? What if you're actually looking at a crime scene?
A crime scene. That is a very aggressive way to start talking about a movie with Gingerbread Man.
I'm serious. We are peeling back the onion today. And trust me, the layers are not funny. We have this whole stack of evidence here. We're talking production notes, legal documents, psychological profiles that suggests Shrek isn't a parody.
Well,
It's a cinematic weapon. It's a tragedy. And honestly, it is a straight-up horror story that's just been painted green to fool us.
when you lay out all the research like that, it really does change how you see it. We're not just talking about, like, hidden dirty jokes for the parents. We're talking about the fundamental DNA of the film.
We're calling this deep dive the swamp of resentment, and we're going to investigate 3 very specific layers. Layer 1 is the gossip, how this entire movie is basically a billion-dollar hate letter from one man to the CEO of Disney.
Oh, yeah, the corporate revenge. It's so petty and so good.
Then there's layer 2, the horror, the terrifying, and I mean terrifying truth about what Donkey actually is.
That's the one that gets me.
That,
That theory.
yeah.
It's disturbingly strong. It genuinely keeps me up at night.
And finally, layer 3, the psychology. We're going to break down why Fiona's story isn't a romance at all, but a textbook case of trauma bonding after years of solitary confinement.
So, yeah, you will not watch this movie the same way again.
So grab your torches and pitchforks. We are heading into the swamp.
All right, let's start at the beginning, because you absolutely cannot understand Shrek unless you understand the boardroom bloodbath that created it.
Right, because to most of us, Shrek is just DreamWorks making a funny kids movie. But it wasn't just business, this was personal, this was war.
It was total corporate warfare. To get the sheer rage that fueled this movie, you have to go back to the early 1990s. To Disney, you've got 2 titans in a room. Michael Eisner, the big CEO,
And Jeffrey Katzenberg.
and Jeffrey Katzenberg, the head of the motion picture division.
And Katzenberg was the golden boy, right? I mean, he was the guy behind the whole Disney renaissance.
He was the driving force. You think of The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King. Katzenberg was micromanaging all of them into these global sensations. He was the one getting the press. He was the creative genius in all the magazines.
And Michael Eisner, he was just the suit.
He was the CEO.
Mm.
And he did not like being overshadowed. Not one bit.
So you've got this huge ego clash just simmering under the surface in Burbank, and then tragedy strikes.
It does. April 1994. The president of Disney is a guy named Frank Wells. He was really the only person keeping the peace between Eisner and Katzenberg, and he dies in a helicopter crash.
What?
It's this absolutely horrific event that just throws the entire company into chaos.
And Katzenberg sees an opening. He thinks, okay, this is awful, but I'm the logical successor. I should be president.
100%. He goes to Eisner basically right away. He expects the promotion, and Eisner just looks at him, and according to the stories, basically says, no, you're a little man. You're reaching above your station.
Oof, little man. Okay, put a pin in that phrase. That's a very specific insult.
It's the insult that launched a billion-dollar franchise. Eisner fires him. He kicks Katzenberg out the door, withholds his bonuses, which, by the way, led to a lawsuit where Katzenberg got a payout of $280 million.
Wow.
So Katzenberg is publicly humiliated. What does he do? He doesn't just retire. He gets together with Steven Spielberg and David Geffen, and they co-found DreamWorks. And his mission statement is very, very simple.
Destroy Disney.
Or at least humiliate them, burn the Magic Kingdom to the ground. And when he finds this little picture book called Shrek, he realizes he has the perfect weapon. Shrek wasn't designed just to be a good movie. It was designed to be the anti-Disney.
So every joke, every single character design,
Yeah.
it's not just a gag, it's a missile aimed directly at Burbank.
Precisely. Which brings us to Exhibit A in our investigation. Lord Farquaad.
Okay, let's get into Farquaad. Because even as a kid watching this, I thought, he's a really weird villain, but looking at the evidence now, my God, he's just Michael Eisner, isn't he?
Oh, it's widely accepted by film historians, by animators, by Hollywood insiders. Farquaad is a direct caricature of Michael Eisner.
Yeah.
But it's so specific, it's so incredibly petty.
Let's start with the most obvious one, the height. Farquaad is tiny. The whole movie is just one long short joke.
And in real life, Michael Eisner is 6'3". He's a tall guy.
So people will say, oh, it can't be him because Eisner is tall. But that's the whole point.
That's how satire works. It's an inversion. Remember the insult. Eisner called Katzenberg a little man. So Katzenberg turns around and makes the Eisner character physically small.
He's attacking the smallness of his character.
Exactly. His pettiness, his insecurity, he's screaming from the rooftops, "You might be tall, Michael, but you are a very, very small man."
And the face. If you put a picture of Farquaad next to a photo of Michael Eisner from the 90s, I mean, the chin, the dark hair, the eyes.
It's that huge square chin, the manicured look. It's uncanny, but it goes so much deeper than just how he looks. Look at Farquaad's motivation. He's not a king. He's a lord.
And he desperately wants to marry a princess so he can get the title of king.
Which is a perfect mirror for Eisner wanting the creative crown, right?
Right.
Eisner was the executive that sued, who wanted the glory that belonged to the artist. He wanted to be the king of animation without having the royal blood, the actual creative talent.
And look what Farquaad does to all the fairy tale creatures.
He banishes them. He puts them in a swamp, basically a concentration camp.
He's sanitizing his world.
So he views all these creative, magical, messy beings as trash that needs to be cleared out so he can have his perfect kingdom, which is exactly what critics said Eisner was doing to Disney in the late 90s, turning it into this cold, corporate, merchandise-driven machine and treating the actual creatives like they were disposable parts.
Okay, but here's where it gets, I think, the most hilariously petty. The name, Lord Farquaad.
Yeah, the F-wad theory.
It has to be true. You just have to say it with a certain American inflection. Lord Farquaad. Lord F-wad.
It's so juvenile. But you have to remember, this movie was born from pure spite.
Mm.
It is incredibly likely that Jeffrey Katzenberg spent millions of dollars to get people in theaters all over the planet to unknowingly call his former boss a fuckwad.
It's a level of pettiness I almost have to respect. It's so dedicated. Okay, but let's move from the man himself to his kingdom. Duloc.
Or as I like to call it, the soulless theme park.
When Shrek and Donkey get there, it is so creepy. It's empty. It's spotless.
It's a direct parody of Disneyland. Specifically, that Main Street USA aesthetic. It's aggressively clean, it's artificial. And look at the entrance, there are turnstiles.
Right, why would a medieval castle have ticket booths? It makes no sense.
Because it's not a city, it's a commercial attraction. And then, who's the first person Shrek meets? A guy in a giant Farquaad head suit. A mascot.
Who immediately runs away screaming.
That is such a direct shot at the poor Disney cast members who have to sweat inside those Mickey and Goofy costumes all day to maintain the corporate illusion. But for me, the smoking gun is the song.
Oh, the Welcome to Duloc song. The little wooden doll.
It is a complete and total ripoff of It's a Small World. You have the little doll spinning around, singing in that creepy, high-pitched robotic unison, but you have to listen to the lyrics. Please keep off the grass. Shine your shoes, wipe your face.
It's all about rules, conformity.
It is fascism disguised as whimsy. There's actually a sign you can see for a split second in the arena scene that says, "Happiest totalitarian dictatorship on Earth."
No way. Is that real?
It's real. A savage, savage twist on Disney's The Happiest Place on Earth. Katzenberg is explicitly linking the Disney brand to authoritarian social control. He's saying, this isn't magic. This is enforced conformity. You buy your ticket, you stand in line, and you do exactly what you're told.
It really is just a cinematic hate letter, but there's one scene, I think, that just absolutely seals the deal on this entire revenge theory. The bird.
Ah, the exploding bird. This is the movie's declaration of intent.
So paint the scene for us.
Okay, so Fiona wakes up in the morning, she's happy, she sees a little blue bird, and she starts singing with it. This is a direct visual quote from Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. It's the classic Disney princess trope. The princess harmonizing with nature.
And then she hits that high note.
And the bird just swells up like a balloon, and then it explodes. I mean, viscerally. Just a puff of feathers. The bird is dead.
Then she cooks and eats its eggs.
She fries the eggs for breakfast. This is Katzenberg destroying his own legacy. Remember, he greenlit The Little Mermaid. He helped build the modern Disney princess myth. And with this one scene, he is violently killing it. He is saying, in this world, innocence dies, and that we eat the eggs.
It's a new world order.
It's a pragmatic, dog-eat-dog worldview. The Renaissance is over. Welcome to the mud.
That is, wow. It's a declaration of war against an entire genre of film. But you know what? It's about to get even heavier because we have to talk about the second layer, the horror.
Yes. We absolutely need to talk about Donkey.
Everyone loves Donkey, right? He's funny, he's Eddie Murphy, he's the perfect sidekick. But if you actually stop and look at the internal logic of this world, What is he?
That is the central question. It's the donkey anomaly. See, the Shrek universe has rules. The fairy tale creatures can talk because their source material, their stories, say they can talk. The three little pigs, the big bad wolf.
They're inherently magical.
But then you have normal animals in Shrek. The cows, the birds, the snakes.
Yeah.
They don't talk. They're just animals. Donkey doesn't fit into either category. He has no specific source text. There is no classic fairy tale called the talking donkey.
And in that first scene, the old woman is trying to sell him because he can talk.
Exactly. She's yelling, I swear it talks. If talking animals were normal in this world, he wouldn't be special. He's a freak, an anomaly. So the theory and the evidence for this is chillingly compelling, is that he's a victim of the curse from Pinocchio.
Oh, God. Pleasure Island.
Think about the 1940 Disney movie. All the bad little boys go to Pleasure Island, they smoke, they drink, they break things. And what happens to them?
They turn into donkeys.
And they get crated up and shipped off to work in the salt mines. It's human trafficking. But remember that transformation scene. It's a gradient. Some of the boys lose their humanity instantly. They just start braying. But others, like Pinocchio's friend Lampwick, they can still talk for a little while. Their human mind is still in there.
So the theory is that Donkey is one of those boys who got away.
He got away after the physical transformation was complete, but before his human mind was totally wiped. He's a teenage boy trapped inside a donkey's body.
Okay, that is a deeply creepy theory, but is there any actual proof for it in the movies themselves?
There's a smoking gun, and it's in Shrek the Third.
All right, lay it on me.
Donkey and Puss in Boots are walking through a high school Worcestershire academy, and Donkey starts having this, panic attack. And he says, quote, I'm already starting to feel nauseous from memories of wedgies and swirlies.
Wedgies?
And Puss calls him out on it. Puss in Boots literally says, how can you be a receiver of the wedgies when you are clearly not aware of the underpants?
That's a very valid forensic question. Donkeys don't wear underpants.
And with Donkey's response, he gets all quiet and defensive and says, let's just say some things are better left unsaid.
Oh my.
Think about that. Donkeys don't get wedgies. They don't get swirlies in toilets. Those are specific human American high school bullying tactics. The only way he has those memories is if he was at one point a human boy who went to school and wore underwear.
That just changes his entire character.
It explains his behavior in the first movie perfectly.
Oh.
Why is he so manic? Why is he so terrified of silence? Why does he talk so fast and so constantly?
Because he's trying to prove he's still human inside.
He's trying to prove that he's special. In the Pinocchio lore, the donkeys that can still talk are the rejects. They get thrown out or silenced. Donkey knows on some deep traumatic level that if he stops talking, he's just another beast of burden. He's a fugitive slave.
So he latches onto Shrek.
He clings to this terrifying ogre because an ogre is the only thing scary enough to protect him from the people who want to put him back in a crate and send him to the salt mines.
He's not just annoying. He's suffering from profound PTSD.
He is a human consciousness constantly at war with its own biology. You even see it in the body swap scene in Shrek the Third. When Puss is in Donkey's body, he can't control the braying.
Yeah.
He keeps making these involuntary animal noises, and Donkey has to coach him.
He's like, you have to suppress it, man.
Which implies that for Donkey, speaking English is a constant conscious effort. He is actively fighting his animal vocal cords every single second of every single day just to remain himself.
And then, oh no, the dragon.
Yeah, we have to go there. If Donkey is psychologically a human teenage boy, and he enters into a romantic and physical relationship with a literal dragon.
And they have children, the little donkeys.
We have just entered David Cronenberg levels of body horror. I mean, it's bestiality. It's a genetic abomination. But from Donkey's perspective, he is the loneliest character in the entire world. He's the only one of his kind. He's completely trapped.
I will never look at him the same way again. He's not being annoying. He's screaming for help.
I'm all alone. There's no one here beside me. He sings it like it's a joke. But it might be the truest line in the whole film. He's a child trafficked into a beast's body, just desperately looking for connection in a world that sees him as livestock.
Wow. Okay. I think we need to take a breath, because if you think that's bad, we haven't even gotten to the main character yet.
Ah, yes. The Fiona case file.
We frame Shrek as this beautiful, progressive romance. You know, beauty is on the inside. But when you apply actual real-world psychology to Fiona's situation, it's not a romance. It's something much, much darker.
It is a case study in the effects of long-term solitary confinement and a textbook example of Stockholm Syndrome.
Okay, let's look at the timeline. How long was she actually in that tower?
Well, the lore suggests she was locked away when she was about 7 years old, And she's rescued when she's around 30.
So, 23 years.
23 years. Alone. In a single room.
I can't even imagine that.
The United Nations classifies solitary confinement that exceeds 15 days as a form of torture. 15 days. She did 23 years. The psychological damage would be absolutely catastrophic. We're talking hallucinations, cognitive decline, severe emotional dysregulation.
And we see the symptoms. We see her talking to dolls and having imaginary friends.
She cooks eggs for an invisible audience, but the biggest symptom is what psychologists call magical thinking. She's obsessed with the fairy tale script. A brave knight will sweep me off my feet. We must have true love's kiss.
She's acting out a play she read in a book.
It's a coping mechanism. To survive, she has created this persona, the perfect princess. She believes that if she follows the rules of the story perfectly, the pain will finally end. She's emotionally frozen at the age of a 7-year-old because that's when her development was arrested. She's just playing house in her prison cell.
So when Shrek finally shows up, he is not the Prince Charming she was expecting.
Not even close. He's violent. He shakes her. He literally carries her over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes. He's an ogre. But, and this is the absolute key to understanding her psychology, he is the first living thing she has met in 2 decades that hasn't tried to kill her.
So she bonds with him.
She trauma bonds with him. Stockholm Syndrome isn't about falling in love. It's a survival strategy. You form a psychological bond with your captor, or in this case, a rescuer who is still holding you captive in the woods because you are isolated, terrified, and completely dependent on them.
And she already hates herself, right, because of the curse.
She calls herself an ogre. She says, by night, one way, by day another, this shall be the norm, until you find true love's first kiss and then take love's true form. She thinks she's a monster. So when she finds out Shrek is also an ogre, the bond solidifies. Not because of true love, but because he validates her own self-hatred.
They're wound mates.
Exactly. She settles for him because he's a safe harbor. He's the only person in the world who won't judge her for being a monster, because he is one too.
That just makes the ending so much sadder. When she says, I don't understand, I'm supposed to be beautiful.
And Shrek says, but you are beautiful. And on the surface, it's this sweet, affirming moment. But the subtext is horrifying. He's saying, you are an ogre now, forever. Her worst fear is confirmed. She can never go back to human society. She can never be the princess her parents locked away. She trades the prison of the tower for the exile of the swamp.
She just goes from one form of isolation to another?
She hides. She accepts a life of isolation in the mud, and we actually have definitive proof that this was a bad deal for her.
Wait, there's evidence she could have been something more? Okay, you're talking about Shrek Forever After, the 4th movie.
I am. This is the warrior Fiona evidence, and it is absolutely damning. In that movie, we get to see an alternate timeline where Shrek never existed to save her.
Right, and in that timeline, she's not dead. She's not waiting in the tower.
She saved herself, and what is she doing in that timeline? She is a general. She is the fierce, respected leader of an ogre resistance army. She is independent. She is powerful. She is a revolutionary.
So, let's just lay that out. Without Shrek, she becomes a revolutionary leader. With Shrek, she becomes a housewife in a swamp.
That's the tragedy. The movie series itself suggests that Shrek didn't save her in the truest sense of the word. He stunted her. He trapped her in a domestic role that capitalized on her deep-seated trauma. She needed safety more than she needed self-actualization. So she picked the swamp.
That is just heartbreaking. She had the potential to be a liberator for her people.
But trauma makes you small. It makes you seek the cave. And Shrek offered her a really comfortable cave.
And what about the dragon? We mentioned her with Donkey, but does she fit into Fiona's story too?
The dragon is the mirror. There's a very popular theory supported by the fact that the dragon wears lipstick and has feminine eyelashes, that she was a former princess herself, a predecessor, someone who was locked in that tower for so long that the curse completely consumed her.
She became the monster.
She became the jailer. The dragon represents Fiona's bad ending. And maybe, deep down, that's why they bond later on in the movies. They are both victims of the exact same system. They are both women who were twisted into monsters by the expectations of the men who locked them up.
This is a lot. My entire childhood is effectively ruined.
Lefs, I did warn you.
So, okay, let's just try to bring this all together. What does this all mean? We have a movie that we all thought was about onions and layers and not judging a book by its cover.
And it turns out the layers are hate, horror, and trauma.
It's a corporate assassination of Michael Eisner.
A $1 billion hate letter written in CGI.
It's a horror story about a trafficked human boy who is trapped inside a donkey's body.
And masking his profound PTSD with nonstop jokes.
And it's a deep tragedy about a broken, traumatized woman who accepts a life of exile because she has been convinced that she is a monster.
Shrek isn't a deconstruction of fairy tales just because it's funny. It's a deconstruction because it exposes all the ugliness that's usually hidden underneath the fantasy. It shows us that, more often than not, the prince is a narcissistic jerk, the princess is deeply traumatized, and happily ever after is just finding someone else who is just as broken as you are.
That is incredibly bleak, but also kind of beautiful. I don't know.
It feels honest.
Mhm.
It's ugly, but it feels honest.
So our final thought is this. The next time you see that big green ogre, remember what you're really looking at. You're not looking at a hero. You are looking at a monument to resentment.
And maybe a very stark warning about what happens when you leave someone alone for too long.
There are no happy endings, folks. There are only grudges, scars, and whatever comfort we can find in the mud with our fellow monsters. Thanks for diving deep with us.
We'll see you in the next one. Watch out for the turnstiles.